If you're making a turkey, you're going to want to make gravy, because if your turkey just happens to be a little dry, then gravy erases all of those sins. And besides, it just tastes really good and it's great for leftovers. Making gravy is kind of like making a turkey. It's really simple, but it seems like it might be intimidating. So let's just walk through it step by step. First of all, you're going to want to start with some vegetables, and we're going to use the aromatic vegetables, or a mirepoix, which is onions, carrots, and celery. Carrots add a little bit of sweetness, so I used a little less carrot than I did onion and celery. This is 1 onion, about 2 stalks of celery, and a couple of really small carrots. So we're going to saute these vegetables in butter, and you can use oil if you prefer. I'm using 3 tablespoons. And the reason that measuring is a little bit important is because when we go to thicken the stock, you want to use the same quantity flour that you did of fat to make a roux, which actually is just a thickener, and then it makes it nice and creamy. A gravy is really just a thickened stock. So what does that mean? We're going to brown we're actually going to brown the vegetables to get some color in our stock in the butter, and then we're going to add the flour, which makes it nice and gooey, and then we add liquid to it after that. Our liquid in this case is going to be stock. You can make your own chicken stock, you can make your own turkey stock. We're kind of going to do a combination of everything. This is a good helper in the kitchen. This is an organic chicken stock. It's low sodium. If you're going to use any kind of pre-packaged stock, use a low sodium variety, because as stock reduces, as it boils down, it just gets saltier and saltier. So if you start out with a salty stock, then you're going to end up with a salty sauce. That's hard to say. Anyway, this is a good brand. This is an organic. This is from Whole Foods. I like Kitchen Basics is also a really good brand, and they have a low sodium. They even have a no sodium variety. The other thing I've got here is, it doesn't look very attractive, but I've got my turkey neck. I've got my turkey in the oven. I removed the neck from the cavity, and I just boiled it and simmered it for about an hour, hour and a half in some water. So I'm going to strain that out. Leave the turkey neck behind and discard it. And now I've got a little bit of flavored turkey stock to start with. Then when I get my turkey out of the oven, we're going to have all of those delicious juices in the bottom of the pan. I'm also going to use that turkey juice to finish off the gravy to make sure we have a nice, deep, dark brown turkey flavored sauce. Let's get cooking. Okay, so to start my gravy, I'm going to start with kind of a large saute pan with deep sides. I'm going to add my butter. I've got about 3 tablespoons. And I'm just going to get that melted and slightly frothy before I add my vegetables to it. Now when you make a stock or a gravy, that's the color of my liquid. If I made gravy that color, it would look a little anemic and a little not so appetizing. So my brown color I'm going to get by browning my vegetables. There are some store-bought things you can add that's basically food coloring that you can add to your gravy to make it nice and dark. But really we won't need that. It's going to be a beautiful color if I take care and not burn, but brown my vegetables. So I'm going to add them to the pan with my butter, and I'm going to keep the heat kind of low, medium low, and let these cook very slowly in the butter for a long time. And I say a long time, it's going to take about 20-25 minutes. Keep an eye on them. You're going to want to stir them occasionally to make sure there are no hot spots and that some of the vegetables don't get too dark. You don't want that burned flavor in your gravy, so you've got to keep an eye on them. You want them brown, not black. So I'm going to stand here and stir. You go do something else and come back and we'll finish our gravy in just a little while. Okay, the vegetables have been cooking for about 25 minutes and they're getting really nice and brown. I'm ready to start making my sauce. I'm going to add my flour to it. Now remember, the browning of the vegetables is what gives you the color in your gravy, so you want to make sure they're nice and brown without being burned. Let me add my flour to this. I had 3 tablespoons butter at the very beginning, and now I've got 3 tablespoons of flour. The butter is what I used to saute the vegetables, or the mirepoix, in onions, celery, and carrots. And now this is going to make it nice and thick. The flour is my thickener. Whenever you add a flour to a sauce, you need to be sure to cook that flour a little bit. If I added the flour after I had added the liquid, then it would just taste like flour and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm adding my flour. I'm going to brown the flour a little bit. It's kind of protecting the vegetables at this point. And this is just going to make for a nice thick gravy. Okay, my vegetables are brown. My flour looks nice and brown now. It looks like it's cooked off a little bit, so I'm not going to get that raw flour taste. So I'm going to add my stock to the sauce. First thing to do is to turn your burner off or just remove your pan from the heat. The reason you want to do that is it helps eliminate lumps in the final product, but we have something else that's going to get rid of lumps too. So now this is my turkey stock that I made by boiling the turkey neck in water. I'm just going to add it to my hot pan while whisking. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to strain it. So if by chance I got a lump or two in there from the flour, then those will go away and end up in the strainer rather than our finished product. Once this comes to a boil, we'll come back, put it on the stove, and then we'll just set it aside until our turkey's done. One thing you can do is make this several days ahead and just keep it in the refrigerator. Don't try and do everything at the last minute when you're making a turkey. You know how crazy everybody gets when that happens. So let's finish this up in just a minute. Okay, my gravy is boiling away. I've added my turkey stock to my vegetables that have already had flour in them and they were cooked in butter first. Now the turkey stock I added was just the turkey neck that I boiled in water. What I'm going to do now is strain the gravy to get rid of all of these extra vegetables and just in case there's any lumps in there, which there just might be, but I don't think so. I'm going to strain it and I'm just going to set it aside until my turkey is finished cooking. Then it's going to be nice and thick, and once my turkey is finished, I'm going to use the juices that have come out of my turkey to finish my gravy so I get a really good strong turkey flavor. Look at the color of that gravy. It's a nice caramel color. It's absolutely beautiful. I haven't added any salt and pepper at all to this gravy. We're going to season it at the very end right before we serve it. But first we're going to let the turkey finish cooking and then we're going to use those juices to make this extra special. Okay, we're going to finish up the gravy because our turkey has finished roasting. I've taken it out of the roasting pan and it's resting right now. It's very tired. And we haven't even carved it, but I'm going to finish up the gravy with the sauce, with the juices that have come out in the bottom of the roasting pan. Now remember, we've got this beautiful thick gravy that we started earlier with our vegetables, our butter, and our flour. It's a great, great color. I'm very happy with that. It's nice and thick, so I'm going to thin it down a little bit with the juices. This is just everything that was left over in my roasting pan. This is a turkey separator, and I'm not typically one to recommend a one-purpose gadget, but in this case, a turkey separator makes life really simple. What you do is you pour your juices in the separator. Everything goes in. We're going to strain it later. And then we're going to just sit for a minute. What happens is the fat will rise to the top and the good juices will go to the bottom, and the spout comes off of the bottom of the turkey separator, so you leave all the fat behind. So the only thing that goes into your gravy is the really good dark juices. Can you see that? How all of a sudden the fat is at the top, the gravy's at the bottom. If you don't have a fat separator, just use any kind of a glass jug. Let the juices separate and then just skim off the fat and use the good stuff from the bottom. So now that it's all separated, I'm just going to add this to my gravy. Just going to pour it in and stir, and then I'm going to put it back on the stove and heat it up. It'll boil down a little bit and then it'll become thick again. After it's cooked, I'll probably strain it one more time before I serve it. We just want to leave all the fat in there. I think that's probably, we're going to get just a little bit more. And that's okay. This gravy is going to be absolutely superb, but be sure to taste it. We haven't added any salt and pepper yet, and it's going to need it. Taste it, add salt and pepper, taste it again, add a little bit more. Be careful though, you just don't want it to get too salty. If you used a salty stock instead of your turkey stock, that's going to affect the flavor also. So again, just taste, season, taste, season. If you like a sweeter sauce, add a touch of fortified wine. Something like a Madeira adds a little bit of flavor and richness to the gravy if you like that. So enjoy your turkey dinner now that you've got a beautiful gravy. Everyone's going to love it. Bon appetit.